All right, so let's jump into some more Oscar things, right? I will kick things off with Better Man, right? I saw this a while back, so I don't want to stay too long on this, but I really have to talk about this show, right? First off, did you see the trailer for Better Man?
No, I can't remember seeing this at all.
What really, it didn't come into it didn't show up in your feed
Yeah,
on Facebook or YouTube at
what
all.
is it about? Like, what happens that if I don't make the effort to watch it for some reason, I probably had to skip it. But what is it about? This what two?
All right. So what is this, right? Basically, it's a biopic, right? So it's a biopic slash musical about the life and times of Robbie Williams, right? Who is this
Oh, right. This
famous,
is the monkey
right?
thing.
That's
Okay,
right. That's
yeah,
it. Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't
Right.
watch it. I didn't watch it. I heard
Mhm.
about it. I heard it was okay. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
But the reason why we didn't get a chance to see it is because, well, the hype started around Christmas time, right?
Right.
People giving it 4 to 4 stars, all that kind of stuff, right? But I don't think it, well, it didn't come out theatrically at all in Trinidad, right? But I think it came out theatrically in North America, probably. I try and remember if it was late December, like right after Christmas, around, like, let me just say around when Nosferatu came out, or if it was early January. I think it's the latter, if I'm not mistaken, right? But yeah, it is the film where the big sell is Robbie Williams being represented as this anthropomorphic monkey, right? That's what it is, right? That's
Yeah,
the sell.
is that what it is? A chimpanzee or what it is?
It's
Yeah, I think so.
never it's a
Yeah,
chimpanzee, it's a
yeah.
chimpanzee, but
I
it's
mean, it look a lot like Caesar from Planet of the Apes.
all right. Yeah, from Planet of the Apes. You're actually correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing about it. Now, before I jump into the review itself, right? Well, sorry, into the synopsis, right? What this show does, like, it is probably one of the ballsiest things one of the ballsiest creative moves I've seen for a movie in a long while, right? So this is not if it's a spoiler, folks, forgive me, right? But I had to get this out of the way, right? So believe it or not, right? The mere decision to have Robbie Williams be represented as a chimpanzee is never brought up, never justified at all in the film, you know?
Right. It's just a artistic choice.
It's just an artistic choice.
Right.
Now, just think about that for a sec, right? Like, because while I was watching the show, I was there like, okay, so the show at some point in time is gonna stop to tell me why this character is why this person is represented as an animal, right? It's gonna at least explain to me this. The show does not do that. And it could have played out like, wow, that's like one of the biggest gimmicks I've ever seen for a movie ever. Like almost like you're going out of your way to get my attention, right? And yet at the same time, it's like it don't even matter, Dread. But I'll explain why, right? But what I will say, it has to do with its current nomination, right? That would be for best visual effects, right? So as I said, right, it is about the life and times of Robbie Williams, right? And I have to confess something, right? I know very little about this man. I know very little about his music,
Yeah.
and I
He's
think a
a
lot of people going into this will go into it the same exact way as I did,
right.
just
No. Yeah.
having no idea who this man was.
Yeah. He has always been. I barely know who he was. I just remember. There's only one video of his I remember, which is the one where he pulling off his skin. Uh, Maybe you thought of video. He pulling off his skin and his muscles. It was like super weird. This was a hot minute ago, like over 20 years ago.
Right, right,
And
right.
he's pulling off his skin and muscles and tearing off and then throwing his blood and guts to the gills and all the gills dancing and that is it. Like he does come across like one of those shock value kind of guys, but he was never particularly interested in like pop star or anything like that. Like but and he popular. The thing is he popular outside of the American market, from what I understand. So that's why he never
Yes.
really passed through my thing. He's a popular enough British pop star 20 years ago, but like like it's like I don't know the same way you think of Kylie Minogue or something like that. Like
That
they
that's a good point there. 'Cause
yeah,
yeah,
they're popular, but they're popular, and yes, they're popular statistically, but
mhm,
from a focus, your pop culture perspective standpoint, you don't think about them at all. Like he always
yes.
felt like that to me. Whatever. Like I know who
Yeah,
he is, but I don't. Yeah,
nah, but yeah, absolutely right. And I love how you brought up Kylie too, because yeah, when it comes to Kylie, I would just remember that one song where it is "Can't Get You Out of My Head." That song that
right.
came
That's
out
it.
like
Yeah,
what
right,
2000, you know.
right,
So maybe there was, and that's the period that they really touch on, right? The early to mid 2000s.
right.
So
Yeah,
they
that's
prob
basically when he was popular. Yeah. He have
right,
one video that that stick with me, and again, you remember me for the video. I barely remember what the song was. But I just remember that video. Oh, it's the video where he tear off his skin and throw his blood and muscular and guts, and at the end is a skeleton dancing with all the gills have blood on them all over. That's it. Like, okay, I mean that was pretty kind of shocking 20 years ago. That's all I remember. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, and then again too, I mean, forgive us folks, but we're not the biggest fans of 2000s pop anyway, right? You know, we're not
Right.
historians when it comes to these things. We just going off for
I
what we
mean,
heard on radio, right? So we
yeah,
may
right.
have heard a Robbie Williams song on radio, but it's not like if you were to
I
ask us now what was the name of it, I'd be like, I don't know. Like,
it might have ran on local radio. Like I forget what he was he pop local pop station here.
dude, 95. Well, you know, at the time it was 95.1. Now it's
Hackman, yeah.
I think it's 94.7. It's like the leading, you know,
Right.
station right now for
Apparently.
like contemporary pop. Yeah, so it's like that. Yeah.
Right, apparently. So it would have probably played here. That's about it. I mean, again, if you're a fan of pop, and he might have been popular. Again, I know the name, but he was just somebody who never really stick with me over the years. But it's like, oh, Robbie Williams. I kind of know the game. That's about it. Moving on. Yeah, go ahead. Now.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what the show touched on, I didn't even know that he was part of this group called Take That, right? Which at the time, again, forgive me, folks, you know, I wasn't big on pop back in like not even in the 2000s, like in the mid 90s. I wasn't too big on it. I just used to go for what they used to hear on radio.
Right.
I always thought that they were this one-hit wonder band, you know, because I remember one song being Back for Good.
Okay.
Whatever I said, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. So I want you back for good. It was all over the place, right? And there was a very famous, at least to us in the Caribbean, reggae, or I should say a rockers, well,
Right.
more or less a reggae cover of it that came out
That's it. Right?
in the early 2000s. Like that
Yeah.
was when I was like, oh, this, because I mean the original song was a smasher, but for a Jamaican artist to cover it, I was like, all right, okay.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
they was.
shout out to Singing Melody for actually, you know, reviving the song, that at least making it relevant to us in the Caribbean, you know. So it's like that.
Oh no, yeah, like that was like a thing for a while. Like
Hmm.
that a lot of well, I won't say dancehall, but like people were just doing straight up covers for a while, just straight up covers for a little while, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Like it I didn't think about it, but like, hey, it have a lot of covers. That doing basically a dancehall version of a cover, and like, all right, well, they're making it more entertaining, I suppose. But that
Yeah,
that I just remember that being a short trend for a period around here.
yeah,
So, yeah.
especially around the 2000s. I think it's kind of like a revival of what they used to do like in the mid 70s. No, like I would say in the 80s, like 80s, early 90s, there used to be a period where, yeah, reggae artists used to cover classic, you know, pop songs and ballads and
Right.
stuff like that, right?
Right.
You know, technically it's called rockers. That's what it is. So it's within that same realm, right? But anyway, back to Better Man, right? So yes, the show just gives us just this run through on this guy's life, right? How he got into music in the first place. He took a chance. He entered this contest, and you know they were trying to, well, you know, it was basically this label or whatever it is was trying to create this boy band, right? At the time, this was in the early 90s. Boy bands weren't a thing, right? And this is, by the way, before, you know, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys blew up the way they did in the mid 90s, right? But yeah, Take That came out, and yeah, like I said, that one song Back for Good, I remember that just being a hit. I remember the video being on local TV at that point in time.
Okay.
Um, and you just basically see, yeah, just Robbie, you know, Robbie's career rise, right, as far as a musician. But as expected now, it is one of those sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of stories, right? Because
Right.
yeah, you see the guy's downfall, you see how he succumbs to his addictions to technically, well, it starts off with painkillers as it always does, but then it leads to harder drugs like cocaine, right? So it leads to that, alcohol. There's a moment, well, actually, there's a section in the film where you see that he got married to this other pop star, and they play the song, and it's one of those songs that I was like, I remember hearing that at a point in time, but again, I'm not a pop historian, so I don't know. Well, basically, she was this lady was from this well, now defunct girl band, right? You know, um, but I remember hearing that one song, right? But for the life of me, I just can't remember what it is, right? But yeah, it's happening within that whole late 90s, early 2000s era of pop music, right? Especially from England, right? When those artists just start blowing up, all over the world, right? When they achieve like worldwide success, right? But yes, it is within the perspective of Robbie, right? So throughout the film, he narrates the story, right? It's him talking, and I didn't know this about him, but he's that sort of like crass talking kind of British guy, what I mean?
Yeah,
So you're
he's
talking
a
about
bro.
like yeah. He's a bruv, so you'll be like, fuck you, you wanker. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's that type. He's that type, right? He just puts it out there, right? But it works. So it actually works within the context of the story, right? Because he's like trying to be like an anti-pop star at the same time too, So yes, he was the heartthrob at the point in time, but yes, he was the bad boy, right? So that in itself ties back to I mean, just to jump into review here, right? Yes, you've seen biopics, you've seen music biopics like this before, right? Where it is about the fast rise and meteoric fall, right, of this artist, and they have to pick themselves back up and all that kind of stuff. And you really see how that lifestyle, right? Don't mind is pop, right? But you see how that superstar lifestyle just wears the protagonist down there, like literally you see this downward spiral, and they just literally have to climb out of this pit that they create for themselves and retain their glory, right? You've seen this stuff before, right? Like, dude, while I was watching this, I was thinking, oh gosh, Walk the Line, which oh gosh, the
okay,
Johnny Cash
right.
biopic
Yeah,
with Joaquin
okay.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was like the one show that clicked me, Walk the Line, because it follows that same pattern, right? Even right down to him finding the love of his life, and yeah, trying to pull her down into his downward spiral, but it doesn't work out like that, right? But in this case, right, I have never seen a biopic like this before, right? Just right out the gate, right? The mere decision to have the protagonist, and I'm talking about from the start, right, to the very end, right? Because you seeing the chimpanzee literally as a kid, right? Growing up in the streets there, what I mean? I just see him grow up, right? And literally, Ricardo, from start to end, he is that chimp, He is that
Yeah,
chimpanzee. And it again, like I said, it's never said why he is that way though. But I'll put it like this: it's one of those shows where I would say you should watch the trailer first. Like the trailer kind of tells you what to expect, right? Because if I would say if anybody went into that show blind, if I went into that show blind, right, and I just seen this chimp just walking around, doing whatever, I would have been like, okay, what is
yeah,
this?
but
Like,
it's one of those
why?
it's one of those representative things. Like you just seen himself as a chimp and nobody else, but people just seen him as a human, or everybody see him like a chimp.
Well, it's done in such a clever way that everybody sees him as a chimp. Everybody sees him, right?
Oh, so he's just a
But
chimp, right? So just
yeah,
so it's some kind of subtext, some kind of I don't know,
that's right.
subhuman, probably. Okay, I don't know. Okay,
Yeah, but it's not like the show. It's not like a character would say, "Oh, you chimp or you ape or whatever it is." No,
right, right.
it's not like that. They all it's done so remarkably well how it's done though. Like
Okay,
everybody is how they react to it. Like it's never like they in shock of it. They just treat this character as yeah as one of their own, right? So there's no moment where a character would stop and say, why you look like this or sound like this, whatever. Everybody is in on it, right? But yeah, like I say, it is one of those weird moments where I would say you have to watch the trailer first because that tells you what to expect, right? So about that nomination, right? Um, it is rightfully deserved though. Like
right.
I would say this has some of the most impressive visual effects I've seen in a movie in a long while, right? Because it's not just you're doing anthropomorphic ape walking around, talking and all that kind of stuff and interacting with humans. It's not just that, It's not just the lighting and all that kind of stuff. All that's brilliant, It's how everything else works around that as well, too, right? So
Right.
there's a moment, for example, where you see Robbie as part of Take That, right? And I should mention, I have to remind you all, it is a musical, right? So yes, there are musical numbers here or there, right? But they're all like songs that both Take That and Robbie Williams did in the past, right? So it's not done in such a way where the show will stop and go into a musical number. It fits in terms of where the characters at. So like the songs work. Basically, the songs work thematically, right? When they use, and I love how they did that, right? But there's a moment involving Take That, right? And they are just moving around through the streets of London, I think it was, right? and it's just meant to represent their rise in popularity, right? And it is some of the best. It incorporates. It is like just some of the best visual effects, dog, that I have seen in a long while, Dread. So I'll put it like this: it's a musical number, right? And it's all done in one take. Well,
Right.
it looks seemingly like it's one take,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Because you're
Right.
seeing the characters go in, and it's keep in mind, this is humans and the Robbie character, right? They're
Right.
going inside of malls or fashion stores and
Right. Right.
changing costumes and going out in these streets, and you're seeing fans interacting with them. You're seeing cars passing, they going in and out of cars and all that kind of stuff. And it's all done in one take. I just watching this trailer, like, us is real dreadhouse, like, and yeah, like how I describe it, it may seem kind of gimmicky, but when you see it, right, especially how they incorporate lighting in it as well, it's like, dog, it's like you don't know which part of it is real and which one isn't, right? Right down to the humans, because it's not just they just moving from place to place, they are also dancing, they're also doing choreography as well, right? So the humans and the ape is doing that, right? And boy, it just jaw dropping to it, just so amazing, right? um and the visual effects do, like, it don't stop there, Dre. Like, when it's required, I would say, right? Yeah, they just ramp things up even more, right? um I was looking forward to this, but I actually like that they did this, right? Yes, they even went into some surrealist moments as well, right? But surrealist in the sense that it all fits the thematic, growth of the character, right? So yes, when a character is at his lowest, you'll see, like, symbolic imagery and all that kind of stuff, but it just done so well, and it fits with what the character is going through, right? So in other words, none of what you see here visually is gimmicky, right? Even right down to Robbie being an ape, it all feels justified, right? But again, it's just the balls of the show saying, we're not even gonna tell you why this character looked this way, why we have him represented as an ape, just shut up and just watch the show and you'll buy into it, right? And yeah, I mean, even though it is a story that you've seen before. I guess for me, it's because I know nothing about this man's backstory. I didn't know that he had a drug addiction, a drug and alcohol addiction. I didn't know he was married to that one chick who, slight spoiler, ended up being, I don't know if it's the ex-wife now, cause I don't really follow up these bands anyway. The front man for Oasis, I forgot his name right now, right? Yeah, apparently, like that chick left Robbie and married him. It was weird, right? But whatever. And yes, that guy is, well, I should say the brothers who make up Oasis, the two brothers, sorry. Yeah, they pop up in the show as well, right? Um,
Right.
but I, again, just not knowing anything about Robbie Boy, I was invested in this man's journey, right?
Right.
And when you see the downfall, boy, it hits, it hurts in certain moments, boy. There's a subplot involving his dad who pretty much just left him and his mom to go and pursue his career as an entertainer, and you know, and like he and all justifying why he should do this, right? Like literally leave his son and his wife behind to pursue this career, like what, in the 50s or 60s now, and he and all justifying that too, right? And how it comes back full circle with Robbie's downfall, boy, oof, that was rough, right? Um, but yeah, and just how the story is told, the use of imagery, the use of music, boy, and of course the visual effects, though, fan freaking tastic, right? And just a couple more points I want to make, right? There's a performance that takes place, right, near the end of the film, right? That eerily reminds me of oh gosh, the Live Aid scene, the final sequence in Bohemian Rhapsody. So
Right.
it kind
Right.
of plays
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Mm.
but then it turns into like this dream sequence, right? And all I would just say without spoiling anything, it was badass, like this, how, like, just the music and just the imagery there, boy, and how the Robbie Ape character is worked into it, boy. It was badass. Now I'll say it is beyond badass. It goes into a direction I did not see coming, But when you see it, I'm like, oh, this shit real trend, you know what I mean? But yeah, everything just comes together so well, right? And lastly, no surprising, yeah, this show hit many feels quite a number of times. Near the end, well, I should say the final sequence of it. Yeah, Mantias came out, and I was holding it back. It's like, dog, don't do with this. Don't do with this. This is the monkey I'm watching here. You know what I mean? Don't do with this. And then the last sequence takes place, the last song is delivered. And yeah, Mateus came out. I was like, "Yep, all right, sure, you did it. You did it. You brought them out. Yeah, you had the tear fluid down my right cheek. Sorry, my left cheek. Like when that happens, like, all right, sure, you did exactly what you're supposed to do, boy. But yeah, at the end of the day, I loved this film. Though I did not expect to love this as much as I did, but
Right.
it just worked though, just in all aspects, right? From the music to the choice of songs, as you mentioned, to the choice of songs was brilliant too, right? And I don't know this guy's music at all, but the
Right.
songs that they chose, right? I love how they add to the story being told, right? They're well chosen, and how they're represented visually makes a lot of sense, right? As you mentioned, like the supporting cast is great, but it's really Robbie Williams and I forgot the guy who did the motion capture work, right? Yeah, those guys, right? I think if I'm not mistaken, he also did the voice. So it's both Robbie and that guy did the voice for the Robbie Ape character, right? But yeah, they killed it with this too. And just again, it's just a story that you like. I would say I had no clue about. I don't know about this guy's life, right? And yet it just roped me in, right? I felt the rise and I felt the downfall though, and I felt like him, I felt those moments where he climbed his way back out though, like every moment I felt, right? And it's just again, just how it was just all executed at the end of the day. Yeah, it just worked for me, right? This last point I want to make before I get to it, right? It in retrospect it sucks that it flopped at the box office too.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the timing of when it was
I think
released,
I
right?
don't know.
Because
For me, I think it's just the marketing because when I just look at this, I just like, oh, this. I'm not gonna take this seriously. I feel so, but I feel this. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I don't know. It's like Ratatouille and the rat thing. Like I remember
Oh.
not feeling Ratatouille at all because like oh, the very premise is the stereotype it bleeding into as a conceit. So it's only until you watch it you appreciate it. But like
Yeah.
oh, a rat cooking, fuck that. Like type.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
rat
yeah,
as a
idiot.
chef. That makes that
Right, right.
sounds stupid. Why should I
Exactly,
watch it?
but
Yeah.
but when you actually watch the movie, it's like, oh no, it actually like leads into that conceit. Uh, so it's that. Like I just couldn't take this seriously, and it's because it's Robbie Williams. Like, oh, he's not a pop star from 20 years ago. Oh, so this is gonna be just a joke thing, and I just didn't take it seriously at all. Like, all right, the visual effects might be impressive, but I couldn't take a lick. I get the feeling I couldn't take a lick of it seriously. But you say no, emotionally it's strong, so it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, but I think you're right in terms of the marketing too, right? Because yes, admittedly, who's really talking about Robbie Williams these days, right?
Right,
Outside
exactly.
of this movie, right?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
could see
Right.
some people, even those who know about his music in the 2000s, watching this like, all right, but dog, it's 2024 when this movie came out. Like,
Right.
do we
Right.
need this? Do we need this biopic? He's not a Bob Dylan. He's not a,
Right.
a Johnny
Exactly.
Cash, right? So why do we need this, right?
Yeah, what are
But
they gonna do with it?
yeah, exactly. But like, I've never seen, to be honest, I've never seen a show which does the whole rise and fall thing through the lens of pop music. I've never seen that. You usually see it through more darker, musical art forms like say rap or rock and roll or
Right.
even country music, right? Because yeah, country music does go into some deep, dark, emotional
Right.
territory too, right? But when it's pop music, I think that's I think you hit the nail in the head, right? When it's pop music, right? Yes, pop music can get emotional and dark too, right? But you more think about it in terms of how silly it is, right? It's bubbly, it's bubble gum pop, you know what I mean? It's stuff that you're just supposed to shut your brain off and just enjoy because it gives you this kind of euphoric vibe now, that's how it is, right? But like you wouldn't think of pop being this dark thing, but like dog, like have you I mean, if you've listened to any Weekend album, that any
Right.
of Weekend's albums will tell you, yeah, pop could get really dark, bro. Like, don't get twisted, you know what I mean? But yeah, I could see some people like watching this just off the trailer alone and thinking, dog, we don't need this shit. Like, why? Like Robbie Williams, we don't need this, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, I guess ultimately, there should have been a bigger push in marketing it properly, right? But again, though, I am just amazed that they should just say, here's what, right? And we just gonna have this, we're gonna have a real life character be played as an ape, and we're not even gonna stop to tell you why though. I don't want to say this, I don't want to say like Robbie is full of himself in terms of doing it like that, but I think that there is like an emotional reason to him why he does it like that, right? And I guess throughout the show, especially in the downfall moments, you could kind of understand why he is that way. There's one moment where you see him actually act as an ape during his downfall. And I was like, okay, I guess that's why,
Right,
it's
he
very
had a crush
subtle, but
on.
I guess.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you could get into the I don't know, you could get into the where all animals down, deep down kind of thing, and it's just if we stressed out, we'll, act like animals or something like that. I don't know what to read into it because again, I have no context, and I'm sure the movie probably explained it and you miss it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. So I don't know
And
that.
and,
I
and,
don't
and
know.
I will say just lastly, and in that particular concert performance, right, which I don't want to spoil, right? Yes, there's a moment where Robbie acts animalistic, right? But
Right, right.
that's the only spoiler I could give Trip because I just wanted to go in blind and just see just how
Okay,
incredibly badass that sequence is, right? But yeah,
okay.
I absolutely love this. So rating wise, strong 4.5 out of 5, man. This would have made my top 10 if I had seen this in time, right? Before I did my best stuff list for last year, but this was so damn impressive, by and
Okay.
again, as somebody who know nothing about Robbie Williams or his work, I just hear a
Right.
song. I remember that one Take That song from the 90s and remember how it was covered as a reggae song. That's all I know. But if you were to tell me that man married this person, crashed or took a lot of drugs in this year or whatever and found in what hotel room, I don't know nothing, right? And
Right.
yet this show just gave me this emotional roller coaster though that yeah, ended in a way that boy, yeah, man, tears came out, man, and that's when I know that I see a show that really impact me, right? When the Mantis came out, right? Um, I really do think that it is well deserving of that best visual effects nomination, right? Because yes, like I say, this is some of the best VFX work I have seen in a movie in a long, long while, right? And it's for not just a musical, right? It's for a biopic too, Like think about
Right.
that, Like yeah, like with musicals, right? I mean, look at Wicked for example. That had great VFX work, right? But
Yeah.
like for a biopic, boy, it's like what? Okay, right? And again, using the ape and all that kind of stuff, right? But is the other stuff, is the other like symbolic imagery stuff that really stands out too as well, right? I'd be shocked if it wins, but I think like as I said with our Oscar discussion. I really think it will go to Dune Part 2. I really think
Okay.
that it will go to that just off popularity alone, right? But yeah, it's one of the best biopics I've seen in a long while, one of the best musical films I've seen in a long while, and yeah, I can't recommend this enough, man. This was fantastic. Absolutely love this film.
Right.
All right, so up next, well, you saw this as well too, so you could
Right.
interject if you want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about Nickel Boys for a bit, right?
Yeah.
So I have just seen this film like this morning anytime I was recording this, right? And unlike Better Man, I did not watch a trailer for this, right? I just saw it advertised, like sort of hyped up a little bit late, nearing the end of 2024. I saw that it was getting this Christmas release, and prior to that, it was getting like a whole bunch of like 4-star reviews and all kind of stuff. I was like, okay, I need to see this for myself, right? But you saw it as well. Well, you saw it before me, right? So, well, I guess you could let me know your thoughts on it afterwards, right? But yeah, at the moment, it is nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay
Right.
and Best Picture. And it's the latter one that really had me interested, like Best Picture. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, what I will say, this is just going off from a first viewing, right? This is probably one of the most unconventional Best Picture nominees I have seen in ages, right? Because
Well,
what
since Moonlight.
since Moonlight, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. You're right, right? And another show I was thinking about while I was watching this, right? I covered this early last year, right? In January. Remember a show called All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of that, right? I'll tell you
Right.
why in a bit,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's right. So it's based off a novel of the same name, right? So basically the names and the location were changed, right? But they actually based inspired by actual events, right? So yeah, we are introduced to the character of Elwood Curtis,
Yep.
who in 1962, well, this is around the time. This is around like the Jim Crow era of American history, right?
Right. Yeah.
So even at a young age, he's being exposed to racism on all sides, right? Even when he goes to school, he's kind of taught about it subtly. Just taught about MLK and all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, this is him like in his teens, and he's now getting ready to now kind of getting himself together to go into college, right? Well, I should say high school, right? Or I should say college. If I got it wrong, forgive me, right? And yeah, one day he just more or less mops a drop with this guy, this black guy in a car. And then afterwards, well, the police end up stopping that guy and saying, oh, you stole that car, right? And, because, Elwood was in the passenger side now, the police just assume, oh, you were his accomplice. So, yeah, Elwood is arrested now and he's sent into this correctional institute for boys called Nickel, right? Which I thought that really surprised me too. Also plays out like a school as well, right? Because I love that early on you see him actually a couple times being taught in school, like in a proper educational institution, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
now he's in this correctional place and he's being educated as well. But the first lesson he learns is that, oh, there's four stages that you have to that you will be undergoing when you're there, right? And the last stage is where, like, literally when it comes to your superiors, you have to do everything that they say. You can't, turn your face. You can't say no whatever. You have to follow every order by the letter, right? And yeah, if you do something bad or whatnot, you are severely, and I mean severely punished, right? So while he is there, right, and remember he's a newbie to this place, right? He meets a guy by the name of Turner who has been there for a while too, right? And they form this friendship, right? And you just see over the course of about a year and roughly more, right? Yeah, how they see this world, right? Through this place, right? But at the same time too, and this is what caught me by surprise too, right? Well, two things. One is the perspective of how this show is presented, right? Because you see it starts off from the POV of Elwood, right? And you see it like over, like let me just say about the first act is basically through his perspective, right? So you don't even see his face at all. You just seen him, like, you just seen through his eyes and how he's just seeing the world, right? Even right down to when he gets into Nickel in the first place, right? But then when he meets Turner, the perspective has changed now. So you see it through Turner's POV now, right? So you see the world through his,
Right,
right? There's only one moment in the show where you see both characters in the same frame. You
right,
never
right,
see
right.
both characters in the same frame at all. It's
Yeah,
always like shot, reverse, shot, shot, reverse, shot. And then the show would usually switch between POVs as well. So you will either see it through Turner's eyes or you'll see it through Elwood's eyes, right? And ever so often you'll see from the camera's perspective too as well,
right.
right?
Yeah, first
Which
person.
which
Yeah,
yeah, which real caught me by surprise too,
yeah,
especially
yeah. It's
when
great.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, when it's transitioning between characters you'll see from the camera POV, right? But another aspect that caught me by surprise too is that you see a character later on, right? Well, it's Elwood in quotes. That's all I'll say, right? Without
right,
spoiling
right,
anything,
right.
right?
Well, yeah, well, okay. So, well, I know it's a big spoiler, but yeah, it's well, presumably in the present day.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Well, actually, they do. Well, it's both present day, but they also have a moment where you see the character in the 70s, right? Because
Right,
it's revealed that he left, in quotes,
right,
that same place in the late 60s, sorry, mid 60s, right?
right,
So you see him in the 70s. He has a girlfriend at the time, but then you also see him in the present day with another girlfriend, but in that present day, right, you see him, and also, points for the show doing this, right? They never show the guy's face, right? Which,
right.
in retrospect, should have told me what the twist was. Like, they was
Yeah,
alluding to it, but I didn't catch it. But I'll talk about that in my review. I didn't catch it till afterwards, right? But yeah, he is investigating because what happened is that the building, or at least the institute, has been shut down. I think it's either shut down or
right.
burned
Yeah,
down, right? But they have found like numerous graves of, yeah, dead prisoners,
right.
dead black prisoners, right? And it's clear that they were killed by these guards and these superiors. They were abused and they were disposed of, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's Jay-Z. Jay-Z did a documentary about a prison like this, but that was a prison, like because
Oh,
well,
I remember you
that'll sell out.
mentioned that
Yeah,
documentary. I forget the name of it.
which wasn't half bad, but it's
Yeah.
something like that. It's still have all these little small things. Well, if I say what this is, it'll kind of
Mm.
sell out the plot of what it is. That'll be a spoiler.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So that's really what's going on, right? So I will just keep my review short and sweet, right? And then you'll get to your thoughts, right? So for me, right, I did not love the film, but I
Right.
did really like it. I really admired it, right? And going back to what I said about it being one of the most unconventional ones, right? What I did not expect, by is how experimental this show was, right?
Right. That was
In terms
to me that was
of,
his sell. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like if I had watched the trailer, I would have known what to expect, right? But yeah,
Right.
I did not expect the experimental nature of it. From the moment that you see things from Elwood's perspective as a kid to where the show ends, right? I didn't expect that, right? I didn't expect the reversing of perspectives between Turner and Elwood. I didn't expect that, right?
Right.
Um, and it goes beyond perspectives too. You also have like these little, let me just say, these little visual interludes where it's meant to show progress in the world around them, like in the States, and especially with African Americans. But it also will use footage from like way before, right? Like before, MLK and Selma and all these kind of things, right? So it just kind of does this kind of weird blurring in between, right? And the show never stops to say why these moments are there, but it feels like it all fits, right? And even right down to the very end, that you get this really like intriguing montage. That's the best way I could sum it up, right? Where you see the progress of a certain character, but you also see these very like abstract images meant to kind of add a little bit more detail to the end of the story. So this is like the epilogue, if you will, but it also kind of shows stuff from the past and the present, all that kind of stuff, right? And I feel like it's kind of just meant to show the perspective of both characters, right? It's almost like a visual representation of PTSD. That's the best way I could sum
Right.
it up,
Yeah,
right?
kind of. That's a good
Yeah.
comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, like they were just not sheltered. They were just cast aside from society, and now they put into this prison, if you will, right? And the world around them is changing, but they also learning about the world before them, right? But again, the show does not stop to explain why you have these visual interludes just there, right? Also, the music, right, is very experimental as well. Jazz with some orchestral work in it as well too. Very experimental, yeah, very experimental in terms of the music there, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just really just the abstract nature of it all that really caught me by surprise, right? And I do admire that, right? Because when you think about it, it is a very straightforward story. Even, well, I should say with the exception of the end, which again caught me by surprise, right? But showing it visually and thematically in a different way, I think that is the real sell of the movie. Because yeah, I've never seen a prison drama, because that's essentially what it is, right?
Right.
I've never seen a historical drama. I've never seen one that deals with race, right? Shown in this way, right? And it really did remind me of that All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt film, right? Which
Right.
um has a similar independent feel to it, right? Even though this movie clearly costs more, like budget wise,
Right.
costs
Yeah.
more than,
Right.
that film, right? Yeah. But just that sort of independent energy now, where it's like, yeah, I just want to stand out, talking from the perspective of the filmmakers, right? I just want to be different. I want to tell the story in a unique way. So I'm just gonna put it out there. I want this thing to look really artsy, you know what I mean? And I don't mean this in a bad way. I want this to be kind of avant-garde, but not in a bad way neither, right? But I think it's because of what the characters went through, right? I think that's why the style of it is justified too, right? I also like the fact that there's a lot of there's subtlety to it as well, right? So when it comes to just the abuse that they go through, right? Whether before, well, prior to and when they were in the prison itself, right? I
Yeah.
like that it's not done in an exploitative way, right? So no, you will not see a black man being beaten down with a baton or whatnot, right? But yes, there are moments where you see black characters being beat down or worn down by white people as well, right? But it's done in such a way where you as a viewer, you know what's going on as well, so the show doesn't have to stop to explain it to you, right? Because again, you've seen stuff like this before, right? But because with this sort of experimental nature, it's up to you now, to kind of add the extra pieces to the puzzle, right? That's how it is, right? Performance wise, I think like it's decent. Like everybody came and did what they had to do. I was shocked that my boy David Diggs was there. He was
Right.
in the 70s segment with with his girlfriend, and I hear the voice like, wait, no, that's not David. And like I see the credits, like, oh shit, that's my boy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you do your thing. Like the man just have a voice though, like I don't know. Every time I hear it's like, I know it's you, I know it's you, right? Also, like, just as a wrap up here, I like the use of probably one of the greatest prison dramas and, let me just say, anti-racism films I would say ever made. The Defiant ones, right? From Stanley
Right.
Kramer, right?
Right.
You
Okay.
know, with oh gosh, with Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis. Like I absolutely love that film, right? But ultimately, as I wrap things up, right, this is not gonna be for everyone, right? I think that the style will be a little too intimidating for some people. I felt personally like not so much that there was too much style over substance, right? But I felt there could have been moments, especially in that final montage, right, where it could have been a little less abstract and it could have just explained what went down in the end, right? Because sorry to say this, um, I had to go on Wikipedia and when to see to actually understand what went down in the end, and when they explained it, I was like,
No,
oh shit,
I
I
kind of,
didn't know that happened though. But like, I wish
I
the
kind of follow it. I kind of follow that. I
okay,
mean, it
okay.
was about yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
I wish the show could have just stated it to me in a
Okay.
clearer fashion, right? You know, not so no offense to the director. I like that he stuck with his vision. He did it his way. I can't be mad at that, right? But I just felt like it just that moment in the end, he just could have made things a little clearer, right? You know, in terms of the visuals and how they were used, right? But yeah, that twist caught me by surprise. But just knowing it now and looking back in the show, it's like, yeah, the show was kind of alluding to that. I would say slight spoiler in terms of perspective. That's and it more than justifies why the show is done that way. Why we keep switching from Turner and Elwood's perspective, right? It's all leading up to the big reveal. I was like, okay, sure, I understand now. I get it. I just wish that the ending could have made it clearer. Even right down to the final shot, I felt that should have been a little clearer. It's a little too abstract for me, right?
Okay.
But I know for some people they might
I
find
mean,
it
fair
way
enough.
too
Yeah.
abstract and they'll just find like just the user imagery to be too much, like a little too distracting, if you will, from the story. But I feel like it works. Not just in telling the story, but getting to the emotion of it, to the heart of it all, right? You know. Really what it is all said and done is just about us as the viewer and us, well, I should say the two protagonists, sort of seeing or understanding their situation through different perspectives, seeing what the other person is going through and doing what they have to do to get out of that situation, like, you know. So I think it's just really that's why it's done that way. Like, we're all meant to understand the plight that these characters are going through. So I think that's the why the show is presented in that way, right? But yeah, it's kind of weird though. It's bold, but it's brilliant at the same time. But I feel like if I just watch it again, like maybe just a couple more times, I'll be like, all right, I love this film now, right? But because I went in kind of blind and I didn't know what to expect, I didn't even know what the premise was about. I just know that it just had these two leads. That's all I know. I didn't know that it involved like, prison stuff, right? But yeah, this is probably one of the most unconventional Best Picture nominees I've seen in ages, boy, right? And whether like, all right, so honestly, I don't think it will win Best Picture, but the mere fact that it made it up there though is kind of amazing, you know. I mean, yes, they had MGM and they push for it to get there, right? But it's not just Best Picture; it's also Best Adapted Screenplay as well. I think that is very very admirable. The fact that it made it that far too, right? So I seen this in so what the point again that is that I don't want that even if it doesn't win anything in the Oscars that people forget about it, right? I would love that people can to see it I would love if this show continues to be discussed and analyzed and revered and all that kind of stuff. I'd be even happy if it make it to the Criterion Collection because, like all the Root Caesar Salt, I could see this having I could see this being included in the collection one day. Like this is their type of shit. They love
Right.
experimental shit like this anyway, right? So I
Mm.
would not be surprised if a few years from now it'll show up there, right? So yeah. So for me, rating wise, at the moment, I'm gonna give this a decent 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Didn't love it, love it, love it, love it, but I admired it. I admired the craft, the techniques, and all that kind of stuff. Just the boldness and just being experimental, but not in a superfluous kind of way. It was just like, no, there's an intent to it, there's a meaning to it, there's a purpose to it, right? Even though it is a little too abstract in certain points, I do admire and appreciate, the style, the abstract techniques, and just the presentation of it all, man. And I really think that it is definitely worth checking out, though. But if you're just not into experimental cinema, I don't think this will work for you at all, right? But yeah, that's my take on it. So, Ricardo, your thoughts, or at least from what you remember about Nickel Boys and how you feel about it.
Yeah, and I dug the hell out of it. I remember really liking this. It reminded me of an old Brazilian film, Pichote, or Pejote, I forget how it's pronounced. I think it's Pichote. Stuff
Oh, I
like that.
saw that.
Yeah, that's years ago.
Pixote. I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
that. Well, funny thing, I found out about that show through well, the late great Roger Ebert, because he had that as
Right,
one of his like one of his favorite films of all time, right?
right, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we were introduced to that in film school, but I think I found
Okay.
out about that show through the a Roger Ebert review. But yes,
I
I
I
saw the
think I
film.
did it. I think I did it in the what do you call it? The Hispanic course or Spanish American course. Not the Hispanic course.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
In
remember
school,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's that. But I remember watching it there, but I didn't see it first year. But yeah. Yeah, it's that. I don't know. Yeah, I dug the hell out of this. It good. It interesting. To me, yeah, you're right. It's the style of it that really sells it. Like to me, they didn't tell the story straightforward, and it kept the reveal at the end. I think reasonably workable. You say you didn't understand it, but I think I could have followed. Like, oh, that's what happened. 'Cause I thought it was one thing, but that didn't make sense. And then it ended up being another thing. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And so that was the ending there. And I was like, oh, this solid stuff. I dug the hell out of this. And yeah, if I had to see it, it'll probably be on my list. Because of just how different it tried to do um everything now. It's the style, as I say. The style is the style. But yeah, that's about it.
Right. So what's your rating? What rated, man?
Oh no,
Rate
yeah,
it.
yeah. Like I give it like a 8 out of 10. Pretty high for me. Yeah.
And last but not least, as far as this, Best Picture race goes, our review at long last of The Brutalist, right? This is the show that everybody was talking about. I would say since like what, November, December, especially in December, everybody was putting this in the best of list. Some people were saying the best of the year, all that kind of stuff,
Right,
right?
right.
I just they're like, all right, when I go and see this, right? So quick, just a little quick preamble here, and then I want you to do the synopsis for this, right? So again, heard a lot of great things about it, but I tell myself, okay, well, there's clearly no way we will get to see this theatrically in Trinidad, right? And much to my surprise, the time of us recording this, it is showing in theaters right now. But just like Nosferatu, at a point in time, it is not available on my side in Caribbean Cinemas 8 in Trinity.
Right.
You on the other hand, you could go and see it in South Park, and it's also in
Right.
Movie Town. I would have to go Movie Town to see it. In Port of Spain, that would be the closest place to see it. So yeah, I because again, I like keep bitching about this this show here. Yes, people from the east are not cultured enough to watch 3.5 hour art pieces like The Brutalist, right? So lucky for my ass now, yeah, this movie also came out on digital last week. So I was like, well, I don't have to waste my money to go and see that in Movie Town. So fuck all they for they don't want to show it in the east. So I took a Saturday morning, and because it's me, I had to pause and do things. It took exactly 4.5 hours to watch the show in its entirety, right? And what's so funny about it too, I had a mind it was going to happen. There's actually an intermission in the movie as well,
Okay.
So now I'm wondering, right, if I were to see it theatrically, right, especially like if I was fortunate enough to see it in the States, right? Because the intermission section of the film, when I saw it, right, it only lasted a minute. So I'm wondering now in the theatrical release if it's just, if it plays on longer than that. Now. So in other words, is it that the people themselves do they pause the movie? Because what so slight spoiler, right? There's a timer that goes off like in the next, like, let me just say 20 seconds or 10 seconds into the end of this section, right? You will see like a timer go off, right? You see like, like the seconds counting down, right? So I'm now wondering now, is it that they just pause it when the show goes to black, like fades to black, and allow people to go and use the bathroom or buy more popcorn or whatever? Or is it that they just resume the show afterwards and just assume, oh, it's an intermission, so you know I don't know what the plan was or what you're supposed to do in that minute of time, right? Is it that you're supposed to like text somebody or call them and say, "Hey, the movie halfway done"? I don't know what the point is, right? But the point is there's an intermission, right? So it's like that, right? That's really interesting, right? And that's part of the whole event aspect of the movie, right? Because yeah, the movie plays out like you are watching this cinematic event, right? It's the equivalent to us in Trinidad watching a Bollywood movie, right? You're not just sitting down and watching a movie for 3.5 hours. No, you're being entertained for a long period of time, and they're gonna make sure that the show entertains the shit out of you, right? So that's kind of the approach that this movie goes at, right? But yeah, as a wrap up this preamble here, right? So yeah, this movie has been nominated for a ton of awards, including
Yeah.
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supported Actor, Best Actress, right? It's a lot. It's a lot that's going on here, right? But at the end of the day, and even though we're talking, from the perspective of, hey, this movie, like, all right, like the awards haven't started as yet, right? But the question at the end of the day, right, is this film worthy of all the praise, all the nominations, all the wins it has so far, right? And how big of a chance does it have, sorry, to win Best Picture?
Right.
So we'll share our thoughts on that in a little bit. See, Ricardo, The Brutalist. What is it about?
Right, so Adrian Brody is running away from Europe to come to America for, well, war reasons. Uh, and basically, it's the conceit of him, you know, he's a visionary, he's kind of a genius, but that don't mean nothing. You go in another part and you had to set up shop again and you had to build back up. So now you had to get go to where it is, Pennsylvania, and to basically get his life built back, as an immigrant, and also, get a famous industrialist to recognize his talent, and that is, well, basically the beginning of the arc kind of conceit, and you could just kind of build from there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. A good period epic. It sets that conceit up, and yeah, it's the immigrant narrative in a new modern sense of the storyline. Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you wanna share your thoughts on it, or you rather you wait on me? What you wanna do?
Yeah, sure. I really, really, really wanted to love this, and I almost loved it, but I had some issues with the ending, and that
Me
kind of
too.
slightly pulled it down for me.
Me too.
Slightly. Nothing,
Yeah.
but everything else. But this is a classic case of the good vastly outweighs the bad.
Mm.
It's one of those I almost loved it, and especially given my track history, my life. I was like, yeah, this is like really really great stuff. I actually know the history of some of the stuff, like what they're referencing, what they're talking about, these conceits. But it's just good across the board. Um, but not, but it just, yeah, they fall short of being great, right? Not like some noble failure or anything like that. Just almost great, right? And I don't know what I do to change the ending, to be honest, but I don't know. It's just almost great, but that's about it. Yeah, but yeah, I really like this movie. Really dug it, but I wanted to love it, but I didn't. But yeah, so that's it.
All right. Well, I will start with my thoughts on the ending of the film, right? Or should I say the epilogue, right? 'Cause yeah,
Right.
this movie is so bold and so larger than life, right? That it decides to do it starts off with an overture, right? Like the
Yeah.
last time I saw overture in not in recent times, but talking about like a movie that I've seen like recently, right? Would be like 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? That's like
Right.
the
Right. Yeah.
first.
That's a
That's
good.
like
Right.
one of the few examples of a film start with an overture, right? And it actually has like a scene going on, right? So it's not just black and you just see the text overture, right? There's actually stuff that's going on in that moment, right? And it pretty much sets up what the story is about, right? One scene in particular, this is not a spoiler because it's all over the marketing for this, right? Involves this reverse shot of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. It's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is the promo material. Yeah.
right, yes, all over the material for this, right? Yeah, yeah. The promo material for the story, right? And just visually, it is such a striking image.
Yeah.
Like, even though, like, at first I see, like, wait, why the camera like that? No, but then I think about, like, oh, okay, I get, right? But yeah, thematically, it sets up the story very, very well, right? Because it's the American dream, right? But it's
Yeah.
truly immigrant experience, right? So yes, you can't blame Adrian's character Laszlo, right? And other Austrians, because that's where he's from, right? He's fleeing the Nazis, right? Yeah, for being opportunistic and telling themselves, all right, we're gonna make it big, the same jobs that we have, we're gonna back in Austria, we're gonna do it bigger here, and it's like, well, nope. And all through the show, you realize, yeah, like America just don't really care about these non-American artists, right? That's what it is, right? But yeah, that's back to structure. So yeah, there's this it's basically structured into two parts, right? And each part has its own very like specific title and whatnot, right? And it also includes an intermission and then the epilogue, right? But yeah, about that epilogue though, I felt like I get where it was coming from in terms of just finish up the story, but it just didn't have that oomph. It didn't have that moment where I was like, all right, this is
Okay.
the
So,
point of the
well,
story. It's like,
we're getting to spoilers as to why
uh,
I kind of get the ending, given the thing. I get it. I get what it is because like when they reveal what it is, why the design looks like that. Like, all right, I mean, I get it, kind of, but I don't know. It's just the execution, the delivery of it. Don't really
yeah,
work
that,
for me.
that that's
Yeah,
that's what it is the
yeah,
execution of it all, right? But outside of that, though, right? Or should just a add just a touch on a couple more flaws here quickly, right? Um, yeah, it's not a perfect film, right, as a whole, right? It is one of those films where you could see and feel the ambition with it.
yeah,
You could feel like, Brady, right? Corbett, right? Who directed this film, right? And also mad points though in terms of his screenplay, right? Which is nominated for Best Original Screenplay, right? Okay, you would watch this and you would swear that this was based on true events. It's like, nope,
yeah. No,
nope.
it kind of remind me of
That's real dread though.
it kind of remind me of Tar in a way.
Oh
Like
yes.
Tar, you thought it was a real person for a second. It's like no, and it's only because again I know just the actual history. It's like yeah, this guy not real. Like this a real architect? No, it's not. Like okay.
Yeah, but I was thinking too, I was wondering if Guy Pearce's character, I was wondering if he was real, right? But actually no, right?
Oh no, yeah,
Um yeah. But yeah, it sort of buckles under its weight though where, it's trying to do a lot, right? In terms of the story and the characters, all that kind of stuff. Um but sometimes, just ever so often, it could kind of drag just in certain points. Not a lot, but you just feel like, the show just sort of lagging just a little bit. And I guess that is to be expected of shows, especially dramas, that run for over 3 hours, right? There will be the moments of downtime, but there are a few moments where I felt the story was just kind of dragging a little bit, just sort of glacial in terms of its pace, right? So yeah, if you are very impatient when it comes to slow burns, because yes, by the way, surprise, surprise, this is a slow burn of a movie, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this movie will not be for you, right? But for me, I this is clearly for the cinephiles, right? This is for the art house crowd, right? Yeah, those crowds are gonna absolutely love this film, right? Because yeah, technically this is very 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 well done, right? And what's so inspirational about this, right? Is that this shit is the budget for this is 9 million,
Salute you.
9 million dread, and somehow they were able to craft a near 3.5 hour epic. You would
Yeah,
swear that it would cost way more than that, dread, right?
right.
And it's just like simple choices, right? So
Well,
it's not like,
it have two little. Well, that statement a little. Yeah, I'll put a little asterisk on that because well, one, they actually put out. Remember, Saturday Night Live kind of slightly probably undermine Adrian Brody's chances because of the recent thing, showing the Sean Paul thing though.
all right,
Um,
yeah, for the
right.
the music doc. Oh lord,
Right,
yeah,
and
boy.
then hey, the budget's so low. How come? And that's a good bit of evidence that come out that uh, they use some AI in this now. I'm not sure how much, and I have no context of where and why. So that's a good sign.
All right,
Like
well,
it.
all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I read this up right after the
Right.
fact, right? Now I don't know if this is the actual use of AI or if this is all there is to it, right? It's kind of weird, but bear with me here, Ricardo. So apparently, AI was used for the dialogue from
Okay.
Adrian and Felicity Jones to try to make their accents
Okay.
sound more authentic.
Yeah,
I
that is a
don't
bad
know
thing.
if it makes sense to do
Which,
that
if they do
because you're
that, that
trusting the actors to do
exactly,
their best job, right?
exactly. If they do that, that is a bad sign because, like in the case of say, what do you call it, Late Night with the Devil, for example, they just do it for like a couple like posters, I think. Which I listen, if you use AI and you're still whoever involved with your visual effects or whatever it is, get paid and they decide to use AI, it's fine, like whatever. Who cares? Like why we have a problem with AI is one, it usually is like um ugly, and you would know if you notice it as particularly bad or a rush job, that is a problem. Or if it gets into the actual creative process in a meaningful way. It's like I remember somebody used AI to create a fake version of a matte painting. And like I could live with that. That's fine. You know, again, once you get whoever had to get paid or should be paid is paid, and they part of the creative process. That's fine. This is a problem, right? Sorry, because you basically say that your actors can act by doing an accent. Whap
Yeah,
whap. That's a problem.
and it kind of gives, it kind of puts Brady in a bad light. It's almost like,
But
dog,
yeah,
like
it
you
puts
don't have any
yeah,
confidence in your actors giving
exactly.
the best
Yeah,
performance that they could give. And I felt like
exactly.
both Adrian and Felicity, acted their asses off, right? Especially
And
Adrian, though, you know?
and they look good, you know. It's fine. Like I thought they were good, but like if it's saying that is the case, because again, I don't know the context of the AI stuff. I thought it was some visual effect thing. That's what I thought it was. And like people have a hard line on AI, which I don't have a hard line on AI because this again is not really AI. It's just like shitty generative tools that just look like shit when they abuse it or take it too much. It's like a bad Photoshop, no different from that, in my humble opinion. Right? It's just carrying Photoshop to a slightly better degree. But uh, with this now uh, this is a bad look. Like if this is the case and this is true, this is a very bad look.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I think for me, when I heard about this whole AI controversy, right? I was wondering if it had to do with visual effects. But
Me
then I was
too. Yeah.
watching the show, I was like,
That's the
but
first thing I thought. Yeah.
yeah, but while I was watching it, I was like, wait, but
I didn't see nothing.
yeah, I didn't see
Yeah.
anything, right?
Me too. Yeah.
Because there wasn't really, I don't think there was like any real significant use of VFX at all in the film, right? And I mean, surprise, surprise, it's not even nominated for best visual effects anyway, right? But
At best, I could say that this is no different from like a good ADR, but that's also a bad sign. Like you're using AI to change something ADR wise. That again, if the actors themselves came in and did the ADR, that's fine. It's ADR, whatever. Like that's normal part of the filmmaking process. But you're using AI to change your voice to fit an accent. That's a bad sign because
yeah,
it's already
that's
coming across
weird.
like you're fixing a bad take now. And it's like, well, I don't know. Again, all of this shouldn't come out because we live in this world where we're all Nardwar now, right? We find out shit after we find out behind the scenes shit before shit come out. Or before shit get a chance to like think. Like you need to find out this years later, fine. But like clearly this coming across like information to put out to undermine the movie for awards. Now. It's feeling like that. Like it kind of remind me, and I'm not sure again, the feeling that this might be framed in a dishonest way now. Like that got it thinking in my mind is like that. It reminds me of a movie with animals. Some movie about dogs or something like I forget what it was. And they had some behind the scenes shot, but it was shot in such a dishonest way to make it look like if they abused the animal behind the scenes. And that's not what happened at all. Like that's totally misrepresent what happened. And then but because of that, it undermined it tanked the movie now. And a lot of people boycott the movie. And then after the fact it come out, the truth come out now, but it's like by then too late because the money that they could have made in that weekend happen. And it's feeling like this is an attempt to undermine the movie in that sense, especially for awards. I'm not sure. That is, so it have that spin in the back of my head of okay, what going on here? It too much. When somebody putting too much noise in your face about something, you're wondering. But then again, that's not what happened with this. I'm not sure. But if that is what if that is what the case is, then that is a really bad look too.
Yeah, I should do more digging up into it, to be honest though. But I just
Right.
read it off of Wikipedia, right? But yeah, I just find it so weird that you go out your way to like there's really no need to try to make their voices more authentic anyway. They're not from Austria, right? I mean, friggin'
Well,
Felicity Jones is British, right? So
no,
I
that
mean, come on,
again,
right?
you're an actor. You had to do that. That's your practice because it's not like this is not like using auto tune or something like that, right? This is more. It at a certain point, it feel like kind of like fraud unless you're doing something deliberate with it. Like okay, for all the licks he get, I thought it was kind of funny that he did this. It just he did give permission. This was with Drake and uh the Tupac thing, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
well, the
right.
Tupac slash Snoop thing,
Like
yeah.
exactly, but that was more like, oh, I get it because it works like a kind of trolling thing. It works like that in that sense. Again, he couldn't get permission to do something like that, and he ended up doing it, so that would kill him. But that I didn't think it was so bad, like in that sense, right? Or but another like a bad example is when Kanye did it. Kanye did it recently for some track where he replaced his voice with the other guy's voice, and the other
Yes.
guy rap
Mm.
on it. I was like, well, why does that? The guy getting credit, but like that's so weird, right? Like unless you're doing something with it, yeah, artistfully. And I really thought it's a shame, Kanye bring completely cooked. But I thought he was gonna do something clever with it. Like he could take two rappers and they bounce off each other, but they're so close as friends, they start sounding like each other, and you play with it back and forth. And I thought we'd get that, but I know we get. And to me, at this point, look, it might have people who much more what do you call it, charitable towards something like this. But at this point, it just come across like fraud. Sorry, right?
Yeah, I
And
understand.
if you're doing this to change the voice actors, it really feels like the auto tune, but for music. Like I don't really care if you do it for Britney Spears, whoever it is. She's not a singer. Who cares? That don't feel like fraud, but this is feel like fraud, right? And
Yeah,
I'll admit it is a judgment call, right? But to me, it feel like fraud, right? I
right.
don't know.
Now
Yeah,
the
yeah,
argument to be made, right, as a move forward here, right, is that it's not just about the accent or how well you nail it when it comes
right.
to acting or being
Yeah,
nominated for acting, right?
yeah.
Is just everything, the physical, the face, all that kind of stuff, right? And I felt Adrian just nailed it, right?
Oh yeah, that was
I,
it. He
I,
was
I,
good.
I yeah, I really
He
do
did
think he
good.
has a huge chance of winning Best Actor, right? Which I think he did. Yeah, he did for the pianist back in the two
Pianist,
thousands,
yeah,
right?
back
Yeah,
back in the days, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, many people call this his probably his best performance since then, and yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think this is well probably one of, if not his best performances, right? Because yeah, honestly, yes, I've seen him in a bunch of shows, but I like not. I don't have like this, like I can't recollect every single show this man star in, right? 'Cause he had to talk about some directed DVD stuff and whatever shit there. So, but yeah, I mean, Adrian killed it though. I love how, yeah, he does nail the weathered down look to it, like he went from one bad situation in his home country to come into another. And it's a good thing that I went in blindish, right? Because yes, the trailer don't really tell you everything, right? So you see like how he's worn down to the point that he starts using opium, right? In
Right.
terms of just
Yeah.
coping with it, right?
Yeah.
But you see how it affects his relationship with his wife, right? To at first, right? In the first part of the film, they are like physically estranged, right? She is still in Austria, right? And they try to organize her and her niece, right, to be sent to be shipped basically to the States, right? And then you see how things play out from there, right? But yes, this is a fantastic performance from Adrian, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Felicity is good, but I feel so for me it's because she comes in the second half. She had a kind of come in and make herself stand out, right? Which she does, right? But like I felt like if she was brought in earlier in the film, she could have had a much bigger impact, right? But for me, boy, I can't believe I say this, boy, but I think Guy Pearce have a chance of winning Best Supported.
I
Even
feel it. I
though
feel
I
it.
still
I
I
feel it
still
might
think
get
here
through.
I still think Kieran Culkin could win it. I still
Right.
think Kieran Culkin could win for a real pay, right? But
I
yeah,
feel.
Guy
I feel it
Pearce,
could get
boy,
through.
he killed
Yeah. I
it,
feel.
dude. Like
I feel so. Like I think. But Karen Culkin coming up, and he just finished that show it all it with the family.
Succession, yeah,
Succession, right? He did. So he could get a little something maybe. But I feel because I thought Guy Pearce was quite good in this. He was just
yeah, he
simple,
was, yeah,
good. Yeah, and he just I didn't think about him too much, but it's like he was like actually really good in this.
yeah.
That's about it.
And
Last point, just last point
uh-huh.
before I forget. One of the big problems too with this whole AI thing. Just last point of the AI. I'm done with this.
Yeah. Go on, go on.
Because of the nature of the story, it undermine a little bit now. Because the whole point is about an artist and creation and your own work. Uh, that kind of
Yeah,
way,
good
right?
point, good point, good
Right.
point.
The
Yeah,
architect, but now you're using AI, however. So it's not a big deal, but however, you get my point.
yeah. But yeah,
Right.
Guy Pearce was great though.
Yeah.
I like how boisterous he is, though, especially with his dialogue, where there's a certain kind of theatrical flair with the way how he
Yeah.
expresses himself, the way how he recalls moments and memories and all that kind of stuff. And just the banter between him and Adrian were great, though. And I won't lie, though, and this is just a testament to how great Guy Pearce's acting was, right? I didn't like in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh, is this man gonna fuck over Adrian's character?" I don't know
You
how,
know.
but I have a
Yeah,
feeling
yeah,
he
yeah.
will tread. And the
But
moment when he say, "Okay, so this is the building that I was alluding to earlier, right?" The moment he say he want to create this building, right, in tribute to his late mom.
yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, wait a minute. And it's how Adrian's reaction to it at first. Like he's just like, I don't know, I don't know, And then later on, you kind of understand, right? Because Adrian's character, he wants to build monuments, right? Like buildings and whatnot that meant to represent where he come from, the struggles that he and his wife went through, right? And that is where, the whole conceit of the film makes a lot of sense, right? But they
Right.
have this American millionaire, right? This guy coming and saying, this capitalist, sorry, saying, no, I want it to be this way because it had to represent what America have to offer, is the American dream. It has to represent that. You have this clash of ideals. I love that, right? And you can relate that to so much
Yeah,
many
they play
mediums of
no,
art, right? They do that very
yeah,
well.
They play with the classic conceit of art versus commerce. Classic conceit, and the architect is stuck in the middle of that, right? The architect, again, this debate of the three arguments, right? Art versus commerce, versus what's possible, aka art versus engineering, and that back and forth, now, engineering, commerce, art, and what a bouncer. Look, I don't know. I think it's a kind of a stereotype of architects, but they get into that framework of the ideas is out there, spacey stuff, and there are no sense of it. But it's like no, they take all of these things into account and then put it into it. And with that clash with him and the values is an interesting argument because ultimately there's a philosophy at the underlying a lot of art, right? And well, especially with respect to brutalism and the time period when all of this was being done and that early period. That's really engaging stuff, especially if you know your art history and you know your architecture history. That's a whole thing, right? A whole, especially the politics of it. So yeah. I really dug what the film did, all of that.
Yeah, a few things for you, right? I love how it really harkens back to like 50s epic films, right? Right
Yeah,
down to
yeah, I feel like
incorporating
that. Yeah,
Vista Vision, Dre.
yeah, I feel
Like,
like that.
like
Yeah,
yeah, like having the Vista Vision logo in the beginning of the film is like, what? Okay, this is where we going. Okay, right? To the presentation of it, right? Because I think this is it's not no, it's full screen. It's not 4:3. It's full screen, right?
right.
But but when it comes to like archival footage, and me, I love me some archival footage. So
Okay.
yeah, when they show those moments, those were in 4:3, right? And I love that it's about Pennsylvania, it's about steel, it's about the progression of America and all that kind of stuff. I love that, right? Also, I love the use of music in this, right?
Yeah,
I forgot the composer, but I thought that the score he did was great, right? Very ominous, but also kind of hopeful at the same time. It's like a mixture of orchestral, but you have like these jazzy horns here or there that pop up ever so often, right? There's a great moment, and I'm gonna spoil where it happens, right? Where you are seeing this archival footage, right, of Steel, but you're hearing you're hearing the narration of a letter being sent or being written, if you will, right? But how it cuts with everything that's going on with Steel and
yeah.
how it
Mhm.
cuts with the with that footage narration, all that kind of
No,
stuff.
yeah,
I thought that
it
was
feels
kind
like
of brilliant, Trent.
it feels like some real like Ziga Vertov kind of thing now. Like it's like you hear steel pounding and you hear the jazz playing and
Yep.
something like
Mhm.
maybe like a Tex Avery. Remember they used to do in those cartoons as well. They just had a editing and you'll hear the train song mixed with the thing. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
totally
I
that.
know talk about
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's done so well, Dread. So
It's very well done.
yes,
Yeah,
again, so to the cinema fans, to the cinephiles, and to the art house fans, they will love this, right? And yeah, I have to say this. This is an art house film, true and true, right? So it's no surprise that E24 snatches up one time, and boy, I
right.
mean, E24 must be riding high, Dread, of the success. I should say the critical success of this movie here, right? But I mean, this movie is like 9 million, so yeah, this must be make back its budget and more, right? The time of us recording this, right? Few things, few production design, great direction, strong throughout, in my opinion. The writing I thought was strong as well too, but I said, because of the ambition of it all, yes, there's a few like moments where the story kind of drags a bit, but also for me, I think that the person who really shines throughout all this though is Brady Corbett, right?
Right.
I'm not familiar with this guy's work. I know that he was an actor in the past, but I'm not familiar with his directorial work, boy. But I think this one put him up there as like one of the greats too. Like just like in our day and age, right? That's what I mean. Like our day and age, a man could just say, here's what I want to make a epic like the way how they used to back in the days, right? It reminds me of this is the perfect comparison, right? This is kind of like PTA worship in a sense, though.
A little bit.
Kind of,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, a
Cause
little
this
bit.
is the kind of shit that Paul Thomas Anderson would make, right?
Would make, yeah, it feel like a movie you would make because
Yeah,
I was thinking of it as like a kind of reverse, almost like a kind of anti version of I call it Oh God, drink your milkshake. No, gosh, his name. I forget.
Or yeah. There will be blood. I was
There will
feeling
be
that
blood. Yeah,
too. Yes.
in some ways it felt like that. It felt like the opposite end of that. Like it's like this like what the There Will Be Blood guy when he becomes successful and he tried to hire somebody. Cause that's what Guy Pearce's character felt like. He just felt like a milder version of that character in many ways. Um, just like you could tell under the surface, there's a ruthless ambition there. And they nailed that. I thought they have that aspect of it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. So yeah, this reminded me of that. There Will Be Blood. It reminded me of The Master. It reminded me of
Yeah,
Phantom Thread in some scenes too. And I
yeah,
mean, if you
yeah.
all know, Phantom Thread is one of my favorite movies of the past decade, right? So, but I just love that there are filmmakers out there who just say, "Here's what I just want to make a classic film." Like in the sense that if let me just say, for example, I use this example when I touch on the tragic Macbeth, which I also which I also felt was like, all right, I want to make a classic film, right? So it's like you put on TCM, for example. I just see this amazing film that came out in the 40s, like wow. I just telling your friends about it, like, all right, I want to make a movie just like that, right? But you did come from the 40s, you come from another era, right? But you want to make a film just like that. This is how I felt the Brutalist was, right? Where it's like a modern director saying, I want to make a film that feels like something out of the 50s, right? I mean, yes, excluding the rated R content in it, right? But still, true and true, it feels like you're watching, an epic from the past, right? And lastly, I have to talk about this, right? Um, some of the most unique use of credits I've seen in a movie
Right.
ever,
Yeah.
Dread. That opening sequence alone, I watched this like, all right, Brady, like this is how confident you is. This is like for me the main takeaway from all this thread. Brady like confident AF throughout this entire movie. Thread. This part saying here's what. It's not just intermissions and overtures and epilogues. I want my credits to look like this. I want this like Huss, like Huss, really, Brady? Like we going here with this, I say, all right, Brady, round of applause. Okay, I see you. And even in the end with the credits, like, all right, Brady, okay. All right, I get it. I get it. I feel the vibe, John. I feel the vibe. I feel it, but I can't be mad at this, John. But yeah, the credits for this alone, boy, is amazing. It's like the kind of shit that I would like to do one day, but in my own way. You know what I mean? It's inspirational like that, right? So as a wrap up here, I could see cinephiles watching this, or even people who just want to make films or write films, right? Watch this film. I'm just kind of being inspired. Like, yeah, let me just pull your heart and be bold and just be grand about it, right? You know what I mean? Like, let me try to be like one of the goats still. You know what I mean? And this is what I felt Brady was really aiming for with this, right? I think like this show will cement him as one of the greats as far as like filmmaking goes, right? So I could see him up there with a PTA as just these guys who grew up on classic films and they say, here's what, I want to make films that look just like that. I'm not trying to make, like, all right, I might make a modern show here or there, but I want to make a classic film. That's what I want to do. And I feel like this is Brady doing that, right? That being said though, it's not perfect, eh? There's still some piecing issues, little narrative flaws here or there. I just felt that ending just needed that extra punch though. It just needed something for me to be like, instead of doing the whole wrap it up box thing. I felt like that's how the show ended. Like, all right, okay, 3 hours and 50 minutes. All right, let me go. Bye, and we just run out. That's how it felt like, right? But yeah, boy, this is a great film nonetheless, right? I can't be mad at this, right? And lastly, before I get to rating, right? Seeing this right now, and yes, this is a few days before the Oscars itself. I would not be mad if it wins Best Picture. I would not be
Yeah,
mad at all if it wins
yeah,
Best
me neither.
Picture, let
Yeah,
alone Best Director. I
right.
think that it is a shoe-in for Best
As I say,
Actor for
it's
sure.
not my favorite. It's not my favorite movie in the list, but it's
No, no,
there.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not my favorite neither, but I
right.
would not be mad if that up there. Like, look, if a movie like, all right, last point I'll make, right? If a movie like Oppenheimer could win Best
Yeah,
Picture, then I think this have a chance. But and this is not me dissing the Brutalist, right? But personally, I think that Oppenheimer, believe it or not, is actually more accessible
right.
than than the
Yeah, yeah.
Brutalist. One because
Yeah, yeah.
you have a
No, I mean,
star-studded cast.
Oppenheimer well, two things. It's not a real guy, so it's not like a real historical guy to
Well,
pull from.
no, right.
And then on top of that,
Huh.
Oppenheimer have a bunch of stars in it,
That's what I was about to
right?
say. A ton of
Bunch of
stars
a bunch of
and
stars. And then
Nolan. And
well,
Nolan.
Nolan,
Like the
but
cell
just see,
is Nolan.
Yeah, Nolan, he was himself, but you forget Oppenheimer came out as this double feature, effectively,
Yes,
pop,
alongside
pop,
Barbie. You're right.
pop
Yes,
culture wise, the whole
and
Barbenheimer
during the
thing.
summer too, like
Yeah, so both films prop each other up. They feed off each other like a kind of, what do you call it, what do you call it, counter
and those.
programming kind of thing. Yeah,
Oh, I was
it's
gonna say osmosis for a sec, but sorry.
no, well, counter programming when you do a thing, but it's another thing, but it directly feed into the programming of each other, right? One is the man's film, and the other is a girly film, right? That bullshit, right? That is what they do, and then both of them make a ton of cash, so it's like, yeah, no shit. But this, nah, that is not the idea. And
Exactly.
you can't do that all the time. So
Yeah,
it's that conceit here,
exactly. I mean, Brutalist is a cinephile movie. That's what it is.
right?
Because I can't recommend this to like my friends who just casually
Right,
watch films. They will doze off after the overture trend. They
right,
probably
right,
will,
right,
right?
right.
But nah, this is a cinephile film true and true. And as a cinephile myself, there's lots about it to admire, man, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, I could see this winning Best Picture, even though right now I still rooting for Nora. But my bias comes to the fact
Right.
because Anora has just been hyped and overhyped. I'll admit it's an overhyped film, but I think it is rightfully so, right? But yeah, that show winning awards left, right, front, back, and center, right? But I really do think that Brutalist have a chance of winning. Haven't seen it for myself. I think it have a chance of winning. If it does not win Best Picture, I think that it will take for Best Actor or something else. In particular, I think like Best Cinematography. I forgot to mention the cinematography in this show. OMG. Wow, this thing look fan freaking tastic though. This is a gorgeous looking movie, right? Despite the grimmish material. Yeah, this should look great though. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if it win production design too, even though I still rooted for Wicked to win, right? But yeah, that
Mhm.
being said, the cinephile in me really I'm glad to see that films like this exist, right? Theory wise, I'm gonna give this a very, very, very light 4.5 out of 5. I think that it is absolutely worth checking out. But this is more for the cinephile slash art house crowd. And again, if it wins Best Picture, I would not be mad at all. I would not be mad at all, right? But it taking home something. I know that for sure. Whether it's Best Actor or Best Cinematography, it going home with something. I could predict that one time. But yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts and rating, and does the whole AI thing affect your perspective on the show now?
Yeah, I mean, it clouds it slightly. I mean, I'm not sure how much. Look, it is one of those things you had to bring up. Like, sorry to say, it's a Nadwar problem, right? You bringing it up as if it's a big deal, and it's like, well, yeah, I suppose, and that will admittedly cloud your judgment. People are like, look, the Oscars just do that shit all the time, and it really feeling like a political kind of thing after the fact. Like, oh, they need to fuck over this movie, or probably fuck over Adrian Brody or something like that. It feeling like that, like the way how it's put out. It's that one of those things. But whatever, that is conspiracy theory thinking, whatever. But after the fact, we'll find out, right? And with this now, I really liked it, mostly because it catered to a lot of my biases as the world. I like the conceit, the story, and the narrative. It really works. This is really excellent. Yeah, I think, yeah, okay. In and out, I don't really bother me too much. But yeah, I dug the hell out of this. This was excellent. Not my favorite, that goes to the substance, of course, in terms of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thing. But this is up there. Rating, yeah, no, rating. I give it a pretty high score. Like I give it like given how well crafted and well made it was, and all this kind of allusions to this kind of thing. But like, I really felt the ending just pull it down. And if it had a better ending, it would have probably got a perfect score. Like, because substance just did it perfectly, and in the context, especially at that now. So, but this guy 9
Yeah.
out of 10 still got a very high score.
All right, nice, nice, nice.